Christian, can you make thumbs if you can hear me?
Say what?
Oh, you can hear me. Yeah, David Durrah.
Yep.
And the other one in there is Gargi. You know her, Gargi Shindy?
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a special tape of Monk. And the way Monk played All God's Children Got Rhythm, I'm going to start it out like that, and then I'm going to play it fast. Monk.
How about a nice welcome for Barry Harris?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Crib Collective concert presented and curated by Museum Artistic Directors John Batiste and myself, Christian. Sean Mason and David Durrah, Joel Ross on vibes, Endea Owens on bass, Jason Marshall on baritone saxophone, and the Harlem legend Bill Saxton playing tenor. Now, after tonight's concert, we invite you to swing over to the museum's Instagram page where my main man for many, many years, the great DJ Logic, will be hosting the after party on IG Live. So when you check out Logic, get ready to, as James Brown would say, get up off of that thing. Lately, as many of us within the jazz community have been thinking about what jazz means in these present times, we're reminded of the words of writer and jazz critic Ralph Ellison. He described the blues as an impulse to keep the painful details and episodes of a brutal experience alive in one's aching consciousness, to finger its jagged grain and to transcend it. This sense of optimism in the face of adversity, or transcendence, has its roots in the Black experience, but it resonates globally across geographic and social boundaries. Jazz and blues offer the blueprint for the creativity and innovation needed to overcome challenges, including the ones we face today. From it, we learn the necessity to stay attuned to the here and the now, how to listen to others while swinging forward in time and motion. Now, our first artist for the evening brings together experiences from Chicago to Havana to the tree-lined streets of Brooklyn. Jazz knows no borders. The music bursts with the flavors of cultures and communities from around the globe. This can be so clearly in the musical artistry of Cuban-born artist Melvis Santa. As a singer, composer, actress, pianist, dancer, educator, band leader, Melvis Santa approaches music holistically, infusing elements of movement and spirituality from the African diaspora into her art. Since moving to New York City in 2014, she's immersed herself in the jazz community, playing at some of the most well-known spots that the city has to offer: the Blue Note, the Jazz Gallery, Django, while also staying true to her roots. Here's Melvis playing Perdido.
I look for my eyes, perdido. I lost it way down in Torrido while singing a song, fiesta, bolero. He glanced as I danced, bolero. He said, tipping off his sombrero, let's meet for a sweet fiesta. Where the sun when we first came close, love. Where the moon when we said adios, perdido. Since then has my heart been perdido. I know I must go to Torrido, that journey to lose, perdido. Where the sun
Hello, everyone. I am Tracy Hyder-Suffern, and I'm so happy to serve as the Executive Director of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. I'm also so pleased that you've decided to join our Crib Collective celebration tonight. I'm here with two of my most favorite people in the whole world, and the museum has been fortunate enough to have both of these visionaries to work with us to help shape our education, exhibition, performance, and all of our programming. This, of course, is the extraordinary bassist, composer, band leader, and friend, Christian McBride. He's our host tonight. And with us is my other friend, the extraordinary pianist, composer, band leader, John Batiste. I'm so happy that you both decided to join us tonight. Christian, you've been part of the museum since 2007. Will you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Sure. It actually goes back to 2004.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, our dear friend, the great Lauren Schoenberg, we were teaching together in Aspen, Colorado, and he told me about this project that he and Len Garment were putting together. And of course, Leonard Garment being like the real motor that made this happen almost 20 years ago, former White House lawyer. And Lauren said, listen, I love the way we work together. Help me build this museum in Harlem. And that's pretty much how it started. Once we got back from Aspen, we went around to all kinds of institutions all around Harlem. And we just tried to create a groundswell of support for the museum. And we got some, our early programming involved Harlem Speaks, Jazz for Curious Listeners, Jazz for Curious Readers. And those early days were very, very special. The only thing that is going to be more special than those early days is the future.
I'll take that, the future and the present. Thank you so much. We're all so grateful that you decided to join with us in those early years, Christian. And now, John, please tell us how you came to be such an integral part of the museum as well.
Well, it's funny enough, for me, it started in Aspen as well.
Wow.
I was there, I was 16 years old, and I went to the Aspen camp that Christian and Lauren were the heads of. And It was the first time I heard Christian, and I called my dad, and I'm like, man, I heard the best bass player I've ever heard in the world. I heard the records, but I called my dad, who's a bassist, and I told him, man, I heard the best bass player in the world, and this program is so awesome. And Lauren and I really connected because I believe the following year, when I turned 17, I moved to New York to go to Juilliard. He was teaching the history program at Juilliard. And I kept in touch with him from the Aspen program, and he was just really, really a mentor for me in terms of shaping my conception of how the music came to be. And I really, really connected with him in that way, and that turned into him asking me to join him when he would teach at different colleges or different master classes that he would do. And then about the time I was 19, he asked me if I had any ideas of programming that I wanted to present at the museum. So that was the beginning. Jazz Is Now was, I think, a couple years after that. We used to do it in the church basement and in the visitor center. And, I mean, that was amazing because from there I started to meet all kinds of people. That's where I first met Lenny Kravitz, where I first met Questlove. All these people will come to the museum. So I agree with Christian. The future is bright. We going somewhere with this, man.
Hey, Tracy, can I tell you a quick story about that Aspen camp? So I was trying to find it, but I'm going to have to hook it up the next time. One of the great traditions of that summer camp in Aspen is that we would have a student, teacher, faculty flag football game at the end of the program. So I have the greatest photo in the world of John. He's running down the field with the football, and somebody has an arm full of his shirt. You can't see who the person is, but you just see John running down the field with an arm grabbing the back of his shirt. it's like the greatest picture ever. I got to bust that out.
You have to find it, and we have to make an exhibit of it in the museum.
Right now, I gotta see that.
McBride and Batiste on the gridiron.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a thrill to work with both of you. I can't thank either of you enough for everything that you've brought to the museum, making it feel like home, making me feel at home. I can't imagine who we would be and what our success would be without you.
Well, Tracy, you know, it's we are family, and we're here for the long run. You know, in thinking back about all the programming we've done as artistic directors, John and I talked about how having opportunities to curate shows here at the museum at a young age helped us tremendously in preparing for our broader careers in music. So after these discussions, the museum made it a priority to actively look for ways to give younger artists the more opportunities to curate shows and experiences here at the museum. So this summer, we will be launching our Jazz is Now Curatorial Fellowship, a year-long opportunity for 2 emerging artists who will work together collaboratively to present shows and other programming at the museum. This is designed to provide a platform for emerging artists to present their music and the music that they feel represents the scene as it evolves today.
So exciting.
Yes, indeed. And this year, it's really a pleasure for us to present our 2 curatorial fellows, bassist Endea Owens, who hails from Detroit, and vibraphonist Joel Ross from the South Side of Chicago. Both are among the most exciting and technically advanced, conceptually advanced musicians playing today. Endea, a graduate from the Juilliard School, and she was a part of Lincoln Center's Emerging Artists in 2019, and also a part of the band with me on The Late Show. She's been doing some amazing things, including a music exchange program in Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, and has performed in London, India, Australia, and many other countries. In the early 20s, by the way, just so y'all understand. Her performance roster includes working with people like Dee Dee Bridgewater and Mark Carey. And Endea plays with so much exuberance and swing. Her playing is magnetic, and I can attest to that, seeing her play 5 nights a week. Every time she plays, the audience erupts. And Joel Ross, oh my goodness. I mean, Joel Ross is beyond. As a musician, you know, NPR has called him the breakout jazz star of the moment, and I would say that's right. Last year, he released a solo album on Blue Note entitled Kingmaker, and his band, Good Vibes, which is the very sentiment you get from listening to him perform, is just a vehicle for him to really be a revolutionary musician and really evolve the form, taking the vibraphone, playing so many things that, I mean, I've never heard before. He's played with numerous musicians, including Marcus Hill, Peter Evans, A.T. and Charles, and Walter Smith III. These are 2 of the best people that we possibly could have chosen. And if you come to the museum frequently, you've probably heard these 2 playing over the past couple years. I remember doing the Jazz is Now for Duke's birthday, and Joel came and played. That was the first time that we ever met. It was at the museum, and we played, and with no rehearsal, he just, anyway, you'll hear. You'll understand. Stay tuned and find out what they have in mind for the fellowship.
was good, wasn't it? Endea and Joel, thank you for sharing your music with us tonight, and we look forward to seeing what you have coming up at the museum. It's going to be great. Next up, we have master pianist, composer, and band leader, Mr. David Durrah, who has lived in music for over 5 decades. A native of Cleveland, Ohio, it was there where he formed the solid musical foundation that has carried him throughout his career. In Cleveland, he backed up touring blues musicians like Lightning Hopkins, Junior Parker, Bobby Blue Bland, and B.B. King. After leaving Cleveland, David continued on to play with an impressive roster of jazz and blues artists, including Sonny Stitt, the godfather of soul, Mr. James Brown, Etta James, Cab Calloway, Dizzy Gillespie, Archie Shepp, Willie Bobo, and Tito Puente. For the past 20 years, David has been living and making music in Harlem. Here at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, for the past 5 years, he's been the host of the first Saturday jam session, where musicians and people of the jazz community have the opportunity to learn from and enjoy this Harlem icon. So let's hear David Durrah play his original tune, Let My People Go.
That's blowing through the trees. I know you know that you gotta let my people go. Let my people go. Oh, you better let my people go. That I know. Oh, you better let my people go. We'll fly high. Freedom for you and I. So many people cry, let my people go. We'll fly high for you and I. So many people cry, let my people go. Let my people go. Oh, you better let my people go. You know that I know. Oh, you better let my people go.
Hi, I'm Larry Blumenfeld. I write about jazz and culture for the Wall Street Journal and for many other publications. And for more than a decade now, I've been hosting and creating programs for the Jazz Museum in Harlem.
Okay. Hi there, my name is Gargi Shinde. You've probably just seen my name pop up in an email, but I'm the Director of Programs for Jazz at Chamber Music America.
Gargi, I think the last time we saw each other was at the Jazz Museum in Harlem. And I know you did a panel for me in which we discussed the idea of improvisation as a political act, right. Which was really valuable to me. And you know, one of the reasons why I've loved my association with that place over more than a decade is that it lets me do things that as a writer, I can't do on the page. And it lets me explore ideas that I need other people, usually musicians, to help me explore. I know it's been an important spot for you too, right?
Mm-hmm. You know, I was a resident of Harlem before I left the city, way before the pandemic. And the museum there is that very, very unique community space, which not only is about preserving a kind of musical tradition, but telling the stories that come through there. And through those stories, you get to know the community better, the story of the community better. I was in India visiting my grandmother just last Thanksgiving, which will probably be a long time before I can do that again. And I was at a museum there, which was the Raja Dinkar Kelkar Museum in Pune, where my grandma lives. And the amazing thing about that museum, and it's connected to this story, is that the museum was a result of a private Indian collector. And that was so important, Larry. It's because he had amassed most of these things, these artifacts at the time India was receiving its independence. And this was also the time a lot of the British were taking away artifacts from India during just around that independence. So it was a very bittersweet and emotional moment for me to be in that museum, because I got to learn what we had lost. Looking at those artifacts and those little items of everyday use and everyday life. And in a lot of ways, the museum not only showcases these unique characteristics about the culture, but within it, we get a sense of what is lost as well. And I think that's the beauty of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, is because we get a sense of these stories of this very ethereal art form of jazz and jazz history.
You always, every time we talk, you take me to so many different places. And, I'm a Brooklyn boy, born and bred. I still live in Brooklyn, but I've taken that however long, hour and a half commute to the Jazz Museum in Harlem over and over again. And in a funny way, it's helped me connect with other places, with New Orleans and what that tradition of jazz means there today, or with Cuba and exploring what Afro-Cuban traditions mean as transplanted here in New York. Right now, I can't be with you. We can't sit together and we can't hear live music. In a way, isn't it making you appreciate these kinds of spaces and these contexts for our culture more because of this remove?
I have to confess, Larry, I'm a little saddened, because I feel that there is a fragility around these spaces now. There's a fragility around the activities, around the people, around really the histories these spaces nourish and preserve for future generations. So that is my sadness. But I'm so maybe naively hopeful that we will come back.
Oh no, I'm definitively hopeful, and I think we should be hopeful. But I think a space like the museum helps not just present music, but give it the kind of context that you and I spend a lifetime trying to understand and trying to share. So I feel like now more than ever, on the one hand, it's important for us to stay connected with places like the Jazz Museum of Harlem through these sorts of means. But I'm waiting for that moment where we can be back sitting there with people who show up to do whatever we're going to do there.
I have spent such great time getting to know not just the museum, but also the wonderful people who keep this space alive and continue to celebrate this music by performance, discussions around it, film screenings, and everything.
Gargi, Larry, thank you very much for your ongoing support. When asked to speak about himself in a 2012 interview, saxophonist Bill Saxton responded, "There are many sides to me. Indeed, this rings true." He is not only a notable Harlem staple, but also an international jazz ambassador, composer, mentor, husband, friend, and much more. He's played with a slew of jazz giants: Tito Puente, Mongo Santa Maria, Clark Terry, Pharoah Sanders, Jackie McLean, just to name a few. As a true keeper of the flame, in 2006, he and his wife opened Bill's Place, New York's only jazz speakeasy on 133rd Street in Harlem. Few spaces rival the electric energy that hops through the air in that small but intimate club. Bill has also mentored some of the most exciting young players today, including Lakeisha Benjamin, Camille Thurman, and Darrell Green. His students and mentees freely shout his praises. Singer and saxophonist Camille Thurman describes him as a key figure in the music community who was always open to sharing wisdom. She remembers how he supported her early on in her career. She said, "Bill was one of the cats to open this door and teach me the real tenor language." To her and many others, Bill Saxton is fiercely committed to keeping the art and soul of jazz alive. Here's Bill Saxton performing 56.
Jackson, and I'm one of the newest members of the Board of Trustees here at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. I became a board member because the work that's done here at the museum is so important in helping to share not only in the music, but the rich history and culture that surrounds the music. For over 100 years, music from Black musicians has been on the forefront of creative innovation here in America. Jazz has profoundly influenced my life. I grew up playing bass clarinet and tenor saxophone, and have now been a singer for 35 years. Jazz provided me with an outlet to express myself when I could not find words as a younger person. Since that time, being steeped in the music has influenced my worldview to understand that jazz is a portal to shape and shift the society around us for the better. People like Nina Simone, Herbie Hancock, and others haven't just gifted us with great music. They have helped change the world. The life lessons and sheer joy provided by jazz is a core part of my existence, have lifted my spirit and continue to do so. On any given day, you can come to the museum and experience a life-changing moment for yourself. It might be visiting with one of our docents, discovering music in our exhibition that turns you on to a new artist, or sitting in one of our education workshops and seeing an 8-year-old dancing and grooving to the music of Cab Calloway or Nicholas Payton. We hope you're enjoying the show tonight, and remember, this is one of several Crib Collective shows that we will be presenting. So keep in touch, become a member, and come visit us at the museum when this is all over. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that great story, Lolita. Well, my name is Sam Mayer, and I'm the newest member of the Board of Trustees here at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. I feel truly honored to be here with you all tonight. To say that music is powerful doesn't do it justice. Music is the world's most widely spoken language. Music inspires us, it heals us. When we're happy, we celebrate with music. And when we're not, the right music is always an antidote. For as long as I can remember, music has brought me solace. As a curious 7-year-old, I remember sneaking downstairs on weekend mornings to listen to my parents' Motown records. As a confident teenager, I remember reveling in playing guitar with as many bands as I could and really exposing myself deeply to jazz for the first time and religiously studying every note Charlie Christian played. As a professional, jazz has been a support to me every step of the way, and now as a parent, it's a language I get to teach my own children. It really is incredible to see these world-class artists, many of whom you may be discovering for the first time tonight, come together and share their gifts with the world. We're so grateful to every single one of you and stand by you at this difficult time. From everyone here at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, thank you for all you do and bringing us joy. We are your champions and we'll do everything we can to keep the music playing.
Sean Mason has a lot to say. Through the rumble of his fingertips, Mason pays tribute to the rich history of jazz piano while also imparting his own personal flair. Originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, in the past year, he moved to New York, where he has garnered a steady buzz. Everybody's digging him. Currently, he's a student at Juilliard, my alma mater, and he leads his own trio. Enjoy this absolutely dynamic version of My One and Only Love.
so much, Sean. My heart is... Thank you so much, Sean Mason. I can barely speak. My heart is so full right now. Thank you. Our final performance features the National Jazz Museum in Harlem's two incredible artistic directors, band leader with The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Grammy nominee, composer, pianist John Batiste, and multi-Grammy winner, bassist, composer Christian McBride. They're joined by the Grammy winner and critically acclaimed singer, the legendary Catherine Russell. Ms. Russell is the rarest of entities, a jazz and blues singer who can sing and interpret anything. They're joined by saxophonist Jason Marshall, who says, "I gather the pieces of our fractured history together in the vibrations of our ancestors, that we might fashion an accurate map of the way forward, together." Here they offer a Duke Ellington classic in a mellow tone.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We hope you enjoyed our rendition of In a Mellow Tone by the great Duke Ellington. You know, great music can help us stay mellow during these crazy times. And we can't wait to welcome you back to the museum to share some great music with us in person. But in the meantime, we wanted to introduce you to the Crib Collective Jam. We invite all musicians out there to join us virtually at this time, and we're gonna create a track of In a Mellow Tone and leave space in the track for you to record yourself playing with us. You can play a solo, you can do whatever you want with the melody, as long as it's all within the creative context, you ain't hurting nobody. So all the musicians out there, young and old, amateur to professional, come join us on this one. For more information, check out the website, www.jazzmuseuminharlem.org. That's where you get the details. Come swing with us.
So that's it. That's us, y'all. All of us at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem thank all of you for joining us from your own special corners of the world. We hope you had as good a time as we all had. Your presence has been our pleasure and our medicine. Just before we all sheltered at home, I had the joyful experience of meeting Lauren Cox, an extraordinary choreographer, dancer, and teaching artist. I hope she won't mind if I paraphrase something she posted a few weeks ago. It stays with me even now. Remember, in the days when everything stopped, when we all paused, we all turned to artists. If you would like to support the museum and our efforts to keep these artists and other artists working and creating, visit the addresses at the bottom of your screen. Go to our website at jazzmuseuminharlem.org/donate, or right now, text the word jazz to the number 41444. Again, that's jazz to the number 41444. Your gift directly supports artists through our Crib series and our other museum programming. Thank you, John. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Melvis, Sean, David, Endea, everyone. Thank you. All of the amazing artists for being with us. And thank you to you. Now, everybody, head over to Instagram, NATL Jazz Museum. That's NATL Jazz Museum with DJ Logic for our after party. I'll see you there.